Hey, if you're a small business owner, an entrepreneur, or a finance professional, welcome to this very first episode of the SME Finance Playbook. I'm Rodrid again, and today I'm going to be touching a sensitive topic that indirectly costs small and medium-sized businesses millions of dollars a year. And of course, it is cheap bookkeeping. And just to be clear right now, this is not an attack on bookkeepers. I know excellent bookkeepers that bring a lot of value to small and medium-sized businesses every day. This is not an issue of generally bookkeeping itself, but it's more of an issue of business owners' mentality most of the time, where because of the limitations that they have, which is the one of cost as a small business, they tend to always strive to look for the cheapest bookkeeper rather than looking for an actual bookkeeper for your business. So imagine this: you own a growing business, sales are increasing, customers are coming in, you need to help with bookkeeping, and what do? You just go online and find someone willing to do your bookkeeping at a fraction of the cost. Unfortunately, that is the mentality that many small businesses take to the market, and the click up and scrolling through the profiles, what they are looking for is simply a finance professional who can claim the best experience at the cheapest price. Hire the professional, they have 1 or 2 calls on Zoom, and they get into an engagement and they start working, and that bookkeeper, especially in the early days, they'll be preparing whatever needs to be prepared, and by the two parties, everything is going well until one day you go to the mailbox and then you have a notice from the tax authority, maybe CRA in Canada, IRS in the US, or any other tax authority that you may know in other countries, with a notice, and it comes in one of many ways. Your sales tax was not filed, the personal income tax you filed last year was erroneous, your business taxes that you filed was incorrect, your financial reporting is not in alignment with the accounting rules and regulations, and that is when the real cost of the bookkeeping starts setting in. Because, and if the numbers are incorrect, what number is correct, right? That is the biggest cost that people don't know, because the shock usually when you receive a notice that something is wrong is that it plays on the mindset about every other thing that has been filed. If the sales tax were filed incorrectly, it means the numbers that were used to file the tax would have been incorrect. It means that the numbers that were booked in terms of how they categorize sales or purchases or taxes would have been incorrect. It means that it is possible that of previous periods was also incorrect and were not just caught. It also means that the decisions that were made based on the information that is in the system that were booked by the bookkeeper is incorrect. Then the actual cost itself, right? In a case like this, when those notices are coming, there are fines, there are penalties. Sometimes the business owner tries to pressure the bookkeeper to resolve this kind of situations where the bookkeepers just disappear into thin air, and because you hire them online or on a marketplace that didn't check, do any background check to verify identity and real location of that bookkeeper, what happens is that you cannot trace them. It's done. And what happens after that is that most times you have to pay back some other accounting or finance professional to come and clean up the work that the previous bookkeeper was supposed to be doing. And usually it's at a higher cost. You are under high pressure. There are penalties and taxes that come with that. So let's dive a bit more into the real cost of this bookkeeping. And just so that we hit this home, the real cost of bookkeeping is not just the monthly fee that you pay. A bad bookkeeping means that you cannot take advantage of the financing opportunities that you might need to engage, whether it's with a bank or it's with government institution. If your bookkeeping is wrong, your profit might be wrong, your cash flow projections might be wrong, your tax filings might be wrong, your entire financial information system might be wrong. that also means that all the decisions that you have been making based on the information that you have in your system provided by basically the bookkeeper might be wrong. Imagine that. We're going to discuss 4 main hidden costs that cheap bookkeeping carry for small and medium-sized businesses. And the first one, which is one of the most obvious, is tax exposure. So when your bookkeeping is bad, what is going to happen is that you're going to end up with incorrect sales tax filing. You're going to end up with incorrect payroll tax filings. You get personal tax or business taxes. And what happens in that case is that they will hesitate and then you miss the deadline. And small businesses, if you didn't know that, I can tell you for free, most times when bookkeepers fail to submit your taxes on time, it's not so much because they are busy. Most times it's because they are not sure of what to do. Because when accountants know what to do, they do it really fast. When they are still learning and trying to work to understand the processes, it takes 5 times the time. So, in fact, the biggest problem for tax exposure is that usually you don't discover it before time until the tax regulator sends you a notice to say there is something wrong, and those notices unfortunately usually come with penalties and fines. So it's almost inevitable when that happens to run away from this cost. The second cost, which is also very obvious for cheap bookkeeping, is cleanup costs. Whenever there will be a situation where the previous bookkeeper didn't do their job correctly and that is discovered, what happens usually is that the small business is going to sever ties with the bookkeeper, or the bookkeepers, in many cases that I know, just disappear. And the small medium-sized business in that case will have to hire a new bookkeeper, and that new bookkeeper or accountant or tax person or maybe somebody who is more experienced will have to come in as many periods as the small business is able to pay them to go. That's their job, that's what they're looking for. They'll as many periods as you want, look into your transactions, try to clean them up, and then you pay them for all the work that they have done. So sometimes it ends up costing you far more than even paying the previous bookkeeper. The heaviest cost usually is a cleanup cost. Poor business decisions. So this is the one that is people don't highlight enough, but it's as important as anything, because imagine that because of what you saw in your financial statement, you thought your business was going in a particular direction, and then you plan your projections or you make plans for the next year based on what you have in your financial statement. The biggest problem is, what do you do with all the decisions, all the plans that you have made based on the wrong information? And you start questioning yourself usually at that point does it mean that all the other decisions that I have been taking on a daily basis were wrong? You start even wondering how much backward you have to go to really assess. You might have hired somebody that you didn't need to hire. You might have expanded a line of product that you didn't need to expand. You might have bought an equipment that you didn't need. One last hidden cost to bookkeeping that I like to discuss is that of stress. Being an entrepreneur is very stressful. Being a small business owner is very stressful. Most of them, their livelihood depends on that business, and they do it like a lifestyle business. Others who are like entrepreneurs do startups, and their funding depends on the information system provided by the bookkeeping system. So you can imagine when they discover that the work that had been, the report that had been provided to them were wrong. Put yourself in the shoes of a startup owner who has a couple of angel and VC investors, and they submit monthly financial reports, and they discover 6 months after that the bookkeeper was doing a bad job. So they sleep at night wondering whether all of those reports that they sent to their investors were materially wrong. They wonder whether the investors are going to drop them because of the reports that they sent to them, which might be wrong. They wonder whether they're going to believe that it was their fault, or they're going to think that they were not good enough as startup managers. And this brings us to a very important point, right? I've presented a lot of problems, but the most important thing I guess people are asking is, how do we actually navigate these problems? How do we solve it? What is the solution? And that solution is just simply gotten by answered by a question that I like small business to be asking themselves. Instead of asking who is the cheapest bookkeeper I can get, they should be asking, how qualified is this bookkeeper? What is the experience of this bookkeeper? How can I check the professional experience of this bookkeeper? Who checks the work that is done by this bookkeeper? How do we monitor deadlines? And if you're actually acquiring this bookkeeper from a marketplace, you have to ask some extra questions. And those questions will be, does this platform actually verify these professionals in terms of checking their qualifications, their experience, background checks, or any kind of identity checks? 2, what processes are there to monitor that these professionals meet deadlines? 3, who checks the work that is being done by this professional? 4, are there any escalation procedures if this bookkeeper maybe disappears, or if this bookkeeper ends up not doing the work? That it's important to note that there are a lot of platforms and more controlled marketplaces that exist today who don't just allow anybody to come in and put up a profile and claim that they are professionals, finance professionals, or professionals in any field. They actually go an extra mile of verifying them. So you really want to get your bookkeeper from a platform that does at least some sort of verification on the bookkeeper, because you as a small business owner might not be an accountant or a finance inclined person, but these platforms will normally have finance professionals who are able to at least do a basic check on the skills and the qualifications of those professionals. There are finance platforms that actually go even beyond that. They have workflows for accountability and oversight. I believe we are entering a new era, an era where small and medium-sized businesses increasingly hire independent finance professionals, which we call freelancers. We're also seeing AI increasing productivity of accounting and doing a lot of the work that accountants do bookkeepers do at a basic level. We're also seeing a lot of professionals who are preferring flexible and independent work. That simply means we have a larger pool of bookkeepers at the disposal of small and medium-sized businesses, which is a good thing for pricing. And that also means that we can get a fairly qualified person at a fair price, not a cheap price. Very important. But as this happens, oversight becomes even more important, meaning that you want to be sure that even if you're getting some bookkeeper, you're not getting somebody who is just going to pick up your QuickBooks to just take that for an example, and try to just let AI do all the bookkeeping for you. Because what is going to happen is that there are going to be a lot of errors, and who is going to be responsible. So it's very important that you engage a bookkeeper, usually using structures or platforms that do not just consider matching you with a bookkeeper, but also thinks about oversight. The future is increasingly creating systems that are going to ensure that there is some more reliable outcome, or we want to be working with a platform or systems that does not only think about how to match a small business with a bookkeeper, but want to work with a platform that thinks about, after matching a bookkeeper with a small business, what next? How does the work get done? Who checks the work that is being done by the bookkeeper? What happens when there are errors? Who is responsible for correcting those errors? A lot of things like that. Businesses should not just be buying bookkeeping. Businesses should be trying to buy a structure that is able to not only just say they are doing bookkeeping, but actually have some organization about deliverables, timelines, execution, control, and some accountability that comes along with that. They should be able to trust the system that is going to be created by the bookkeeper and whoever might be doing oversight for them. The small business actually need to buy peace of mind rather than thinking of buying bookkeeping. So if you're a small business, I want you to be asking yourself this question: are you paying for bookkeeping, or are you paying for reliable financial information? Because those are not always the same thing. Thank you for watching this episode, and if you like what we discussed today, if you found this information useful, subscribe for future episodes of SME Finance Playbook. We will be discussing finance hiring, accounting, tax, business management, and the future of finance work.